For those serious about becoming successful, consistently profitable options traders, now is the time to build skills in technical analysis, market analysis, and applied volatility to get those results. We have multiple memberships, starting with our Go membership that teaches rules-based trading and our Pro membership that teaches more subjective trading. For more information, go to lockeinyoursuccess.com/memberships.
So let's talk about identifying and adapting to structural market changes. The competent trader focuses on how and when to apply certain concepts most appropriately. Okay. The novice trader will shift into or out of a strategy based on recent results. That behavior or that mindset puts a high priority on trade rules and back-tested results, right? In other words, I'm a novice trader. I'm trading with hope and ignorance. And by that I mean, hey, this trade had good results recently, and I hope it's going to have good results into the future. Or this trade's back tested well, and I hope it's going to have good results into the future. And he has a confidence that's based off of a back test maybe, or like I said, recent results. And that confidence level is, so he puts the trade on, that confidence, and maybe he wins a few times, right? And then the confidence level grows, and then he increases size, and then he loses, and then his confidence level is shattered because, hey, this didn't happen in the past. What's the problem? I mean, everybody says, well, I must have got bad trade execution. Yeah, that's it, right? No, that's not it. The problem is that happens, right? And if your confidence level is based on the back testing and stuff, then your confidence level will be shattered because all of a sudden your trade loses and you're like, what happened? Now what do I do? Why did it lose? I don't really know. Whoa, look at this trade over here. This trade over here did good in that situation. It must be better than my trade. So I'm going to go over to that trade, right? That's the behavior of a novice trader. A competent trader is going to shift in and out of strategy based on how well the concepts of the strategy align with the current and expected market situation. We've talked about this before. You will see me shift into a strategy that's done crappy for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. And you'll see me shift out of a strategy that's done really, really well for a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's because I have a basic understanding of what's going on in the marketplace. I have a basic understanding of what's happening, or the way the subjective assumptions that allow my strategy to work. And I say, hey, the market probably isn't going to do this anymore. Now, I may or may not be right with that, but I have a good idea, probably with a much greater than 50% right accuracy, that I'm right. That's a probability shift. So now this strategy is probably not going to be working anymore. So in other words, if I'm in a bull trade and we're in 2021, whenever the market topped out, and I'm looking at that, and I said, look, I hit my long-term price pattern targets in the marketplace, and chances are the market's going to go into a downtrend. Oh, look, I'm trading a bull trade. That's probably not going to do well in a downtrend. Why don't I pick something that might, right? And that might be a bearish butterfly. I don't know, right? And I might look at the results of the bearish butterfly over the last 6 months and say they've been terrible. But that's okay because I know a bearish butterfly does well in a downtrend, and I'm just going to switch to it now because the probability is the market's going into a downtrend. Right? The same thing if I'm in 2020 and the market's crashing like crazy, and the bull trade is lost for the last 2 months or whatever, right? So it got crushed to the downside for the last 2 months. Yeah, right? The market's been going straight down. What would I expect, right? The assumption behind the bull trade is that this usually doesn't happen. But when I get down to my support levels of the market, which we know we called pretty closely, then I might want to say, hey, maybe a bull trade will work out okay. But then I might say, well, now I know the dynamics of the bull trade, and the bull trade stops out if I get a big down move. And the market didn't necessarily go up straight; it went up very choppy. We'd have a 100-point up day. We'd have a couple 100-point up days. We'd have 2 or 3 50-point down days. That's going to stop out a bull trade. That behavior is not good for my bull trade, right? So that's not a directional bias. Now this is a volatility bias. And if I happen to time my entry wrong, then I'm going to get stopped out. Well, but I know in 60 days I'm very likely to be higher than I am now because we're now likely to be in an uptrend for a little while. Well, okay, so maybe a Super Bowl is appropriate because a Super Bowl, if I happen to enter with wrong timing, it doesn't really matter so long as the market's up in 65 days, right? So if I'm understanding those dynamics and how they're coming together, I can shift in and out of strategies, not based on how they've done recently or how they back tested, but based on what's actually happening and what I understand about the strategies. This is what a competent trader does, right? He understands what he's trading. He understands what he's trading it in. So to a competent trader, when they look at a trading program, and they look at learning, they're not basing it off back testing, back testing results. They're not basing it off recent results. Competent trader, it means the concepts and learning how and when to apply those concepts is where the focus is. So if I look at a trading program, like if I were to buy somebody else's trading program, I wouldn't really care about the exact rules. What I would look at is what concept is this trading strategy is it using, right? When is it going to be good? When is it going to be problematic? And people who've been in the live seminars have seen me. Somebody will give me a trading strategy, the rules, and I can tell them when it's going to do well and when it's going to do poorly. And specifically, like I'll say, enter at this date. And I know whether that trade is going to win or not by looking at what happened in the marketplace, right? You should be able to do that with any of your trading strategies if you fully understand them. But I understand that, right? And this is where you should be doing that. So concepts and learning when to apply them now and in the future is really where you want to go. To a competent trader, to me, if I look at a trading strategy, you know what the least useful information to me is the trading rules. Whether I'm at 15 delta, 10 delta, whether I enter 45 days to expiration or 30, whether I have a profit target or not have a profit target, right? Those are all concepts, and I know under what conditions those concepts do well and what they don't when they don't do well. The concepts is what's important to me. The rules themselves are not. Past results are not. Back-tested results are not. They don't tell me much of anything. I want to go and understand those types of things. And it's the same way in the X4 program, by the way. We look at the 3X4 trades, or even the M3.4U program. The programs are comprehensive. They cover a lot of different material. The actual rules, the strict guidelines, rules are the least useful information in the whole program. People come in and all they want is the trading rules. And it's like, I know where this is going, right? This is just not going to end well because I know what stage they're in. They're in the stage 1, 2, and 3, and they have unrealistic expectations, and then that's going to keep them in stage 1, 2, or 3. That's not going to allow them to progress really at all as a trader. So understand, again, least useful information can be the rules themselves or the exact rules. I mean, you know the rules so they can understand, so you know what concepts they're applying, and then the rules go away. To identify when you adapt, you have to develop basic trading skills, discipline, and a focus on process. Again, stages 1 and 2 of trading success blueprint. Discipline, basic trading skills, focus on the process. You must fully understand the strengths and vulnerabilities of the components of your chosen, not of the trade itself, of the components of your chosen trading method, right? So entry strategy, exit strategy, adjustment strategy. All the trades have those, right? Even if that adjustment strategy is do nothing, even if that exit strategy is, you just wait till expiration. They all have an entry, exit, and adjustment strategy. Each entry, exit, and adjustment strategy has its strengths, it has its vulnerabilities, um, and your goal there should be to understand what they are. In these stages, P&L is secondary. Like, I know people come into trading like, I got to make money now, and I'm just going to come in. I'm going to find a set of rules, and I hope they make money. And if they don't make money, then I'm screwed, or I'm going to just find another trade. Right? That's again, novice, bad expectations. If you're looking at this appropriately, you're doing stages 1, 2, and 3, and you're like, money doesn't matter. P&L really doesn't matter. You kind of almost have to have that. You have to say, my focus and goal is building discipline. My focus and goal is understanding the components of the strategies and when to use them, right? You must also understand market context and how the components of the strategy will react to it, and that's where stages 4 and 5 come in. Now, the thing is, we have really, really great trading strategies. Stages 1, 2, and 3, if you're doing it with consistent income and you're not jumping around strategies, you're very likely making money. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Right? You won't make money every cycle, but you're very likely making money. Certainly if you go over time, chances are you're going to be pretty profitable doing that. But you may not. It depends on the timing of when you come in and what's going on in the marketplace and which strategies you're doing and so forth. Right? In stages 4 and 5, we start to understand the dynamics of the market and the components of our strategies, and then we start to become subjective. A lot of times we have the expectation that if we become subjective, we're going to take away all of our losses. But the reality is when you're becoming subjective, you're learning a new skill. And when you're learning a new skill, you're usually not very good at it. You're probably going to have a performance drop. And what tends to happen is they go back to the rules. They run back to the rules because I did better with the rules. I would have done better with the rules. But I encourage you to push through that because I've talked about this with playing pickleball. I've talked about it with dancing. I can beat a novice in pickleball by purely, or if I'm a novice in pickleball, I can beat another person a lot of times by purely playing harder and hitting the ball harder, right? I hit it with more thing, it freaks the other people out, and they lose. But if I do that against a professional, forget it. I can hit it as hard as I want, and all they'll do is they'll laugh at you, and they'll knock you out of the game. I know that. I've tried. The only way for me to get better is to practice new skills. And when I'm practicing new skills against people I used to beat by hammering the ball, I lose to those people because I'm practicing new skills. My performance drops. But that's only temporary because once I master the skill, when the other person starts whacking the ball back at me, it's not a problem anymore. I can beat him at that point. In other words, my skill has gone to another level. So that is what happens. It's just part of the process. So you need your expectation that you're going to just win all the time is what's going to kill you there. It's like, oh, I'm starting to become subjective. I'm learning a new skill. I should probably expect a drop in performance. If you don't get a drop in performance, wonderful. But if you do, it's not really a surprise. And then as you master that skill, then you're going to start to do better than you would have done. Right? If you just stay with it, and that's, you'll start doing better than you would have done, and then at some point you'll be doing much, much better than you would have done with any trading strategy. It's part of the process. Okay, so we want to make sure that we understand that because that's really, really important. So the question I got, or a comment I got in X4. I guess I'm just concerned. I feel I got caught off guard by the X4 posting new guidelines for all the trades, which was my understanding. It was my understanding the X4 system was designed to give students a full comprehension of how to adapt the system into the future, but I really don't feel like I would have been able to take what was in the program and self-adapt to create guidelines like you did, John. John, you were able to come out with new trade guidelines, not in one, but all three trades. I don't think I could have made those myself, so I feel like I'm still missing something if the program was marked as being able to teach how to adapt into the future. and I probably would have been trading the original versions during those periods, unaware that it was required, that it required me to make a tweak, and then I would have probably not known which tweak to make to get the same guideline updates you made. I appreciate putting out the updates, but I don't want to feel so dependent on them like I currently do. Good things and bad things in here, right? So great question, by the way, which is why I basically made a whole webinar topic about it. Yeah, you don't want to be dependent on other people making changes. You want to be able to catch that for yourself. So I think that that is a good goal. Regarding the program, the word required is not, it doesn't require you to make a change. So nothing in the X4 was necessarily required to make a change. It's just I decided to make a change for certain reasons. But I have some comments basically on the premises that are within the question, right? So the X4 system was designed to give students a full comprehension of how to adapt to the system into the future. And yes, it was. And yes, it does. Right? But at the same time, the X4 is an advanced level program and what it does is it provides tools and concepts. It provides the tools, concepts, understandings, where to focus so that it will help you develop the skills required, right? Help you develop the skills required to adapt a trading strategy to the current and future market situations. The system is an advanced level program and assumes the trader has base level skill and understanding of basic concepts, right? So I think that one of the expectations that a lot of people have is that, hey, I'm going to buy a program, or I'm going to watch a video, and I'm going to instantly know everything. I'm going to instantly, it's going to just fill me with understanding. That's not the case, right? You have to have certain base skills that need to be developed. And the person who bought the X4 program bought it fairly recently, right? They bought it recently. They watched it. They watched the program, right? Which is it's a very long program, and it would have taken a while just to watch. And then you look at the options trade for income, and you say, hey, they changed it, and I wouldn't have known when to change it. And I'm like, of course you wouldn't know when to change it. Why would you? You just watched the program. You don't. Do you have the base skills required to make such a decision? No video can instill in you everything you need to know, right? If we talk about a full understanding of strategy concept, right, we're talking about the entry, exit, and adjustment strategies. To get a full understanding of them, it's going to require a sufficient amount of time working with them, right? This isn't hours. This is weeks, months in backtester and live trading to really understand what's going on behind the concepts. It takes some time. If you don't understand the concept of the trade and what the underlying assumptions are under which that trading strategy is likely to win or likely to lose, then you can't go anywhere with that. And you have to build that, and I can't put that in a program. I can't put that in a video. You have to work with it and understand what they are. I mean, there's just no way around it. There's a certain amount of work that has to be done. It's like I can watch, if I don't know, if I never swam or ridden a bicycle, I can watch all the videos and on swimming or bicycling that I could find, and it could be the best information on the planet. It doesn't mean I can jump in the water and swim. It still takes a sufficient amount of time working in the water to be able to swim. It takes a sufficient amount of time on a bicycle to learn to ride a bicycle. I can't get that in a video. I can't get that in the book. I have to go out and experience it. Same thing here, right? So you have to have that. I have to have a good understanding of market dynamics, which will require sufficient time and experience with market and implied volatility projections. And again, using the proper focus. So when I'm focusing on a strategy, I'm not focusing on how much money I made and whether I made money or not. I'm focusing on other things, right? I'm focusing on what are the concepts here, why are they working, why are they not working. I'm looking at market dynamics. I'm making projections and seeing how good my projections are about what's likely to happen over the next movement. It's not just price direction. It's not just price level. It's price ranges, right? I'm in a trade that has price ranges. It's how far does it go up and down? What's the implied volatility do when it goes up and down? How does that affect my position? Right? Using all these proper focuses. That takes time and experience. And it also takes a good understanding of how the various concepts interact with the market dynamics, which also takes sufficient time and experience. Again, I watched the video. I didn't understand why John made the changes. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, you need to be able to, you need to work with this type of stuff before that. Like I said, it has the tools and the things that you need to focus on to make these decisions. It's up to you as a trader to work with this and spend time with it so that you understand it to the level where you can start to make these types of things going on.